Hello, my name is Jameria Harris, and today we're going to be discussing the unknown project with Save the Patient. The purpose of an unknown is to pretty much demonstrate comprehensive material that we have learned throughout the semester of the lab. And this includes the methodology and also lab techniques. I'm going to explain each test that was performed, the purpose of the test, and the results of the test. I am going to, we did a dictonymous key, so let's jump right into it. Okay, we started out with Johnny coming in, complaining that he's tired all the time and he's having reoccurring headaches. His blood work was done and it was sent over to our lab to figure out what is wrong with him. So the first thing that we did was a gram stain. And the purpose of a gram stain is to determine the composition of a cell wall, whether it's gram negative or gram positive. And how we performed that gram stain was we applied the bacteria to the slide. We air dried it, then we air fixed it through the flame a few times. We added 5 drops of crystal violet for 1 minute. And then we washed it off, and then we added 5 drops of iodine for 30 seconds, and then we washed it off. And then we tilted the slide to the side, and we decolorized it for about 5 seconds. And then we added 5 drops of the saffron for 1 minute, and we washed it off. And we examined it under a microscope, and the results that we got back, they were purple, cocci round, which indicate gram positive cocci. So then I went on to figure out which test should I use to determine what was initially wrong with him. There are certain tests that should be done for gram positive and gram negative. Okay, so next I determined that I was going to do a catalase test. And why I decided that I was going to do a catalase test, because a catalase test pretty much differentiate between streptococci and staphylococci, and it also differentiate gram stain positive results. And what a catalase test is the purpose of a catalase test is to determine if the microbe can catalase. And how we perform that test is we took a pure culture and on a stir plate, and we incubated it for 35 to 37 Celsius for 24 hours. The growth that was smeared on the slide, we dropped 1 drop of hydrogen peroxide onto the slide. And when I dropped the hydrogen peroxide onto the slide, nothing happened. And this indicates that the test result was negative, because if the test was able to catalase, it would have bubbled, and I didn't get any bubbles. So therefore, it indicated that the test was negative for catalase. Okay, now that we know that our catalase test is negative, we can definitely pretty much determine that our organism is streptococci. We also had to do a determinant's key, and what the determinant's key does is help identify organisms. Like for an example, the catalase test, it was negative. So if the catalase test was negative, then it helps me identify the organism as streptococci. Therefore, if it was positive, it would have went on to the staphylococci side. Okay, so now that we know that our organism is negative for catalase, we're going to move on to the hemolysin test. And the purpose of the hemolysin test is to determine if the bacterium can destroy a cell or if it can consume the hemoglobin. It has no reagents. And what I did was I took the medium from the took the blood agar medium, and as normal, we dip our loop into the culture, and then we transferred it over onto the plate. We streaked the plate pretty much, and once we streaked the plate and we incubated it for 35 to 37 Celsius for 24 hours, and we pulled it out of the incubator, we saw that the plate had clear halos around the colonies. And this indicated that this test result was definitely beta. So this helped us pretty much narrow down our organisms even further. Okay, now that we know our test results for the hemolysins are beta, we moved on to the bacitracin susceptible test. And what this test tells us is if the bacterium is resistant or susceptible to the drug. It has no reagents, and how we performed the test was the medium we had was the nutrient agar medium, and we turned on our Bunsen burner like we normally do, and instead of grabbing a loop, we grabbed a swab, and we dipped our swab into our unknown culture, and we streaked our plate. Once we streaked our plate, we flamed our tube, and before we closed it, we added a 0.04 units onto the plate. Now, after I did this and I incubated it for 35 to 37 Celsius for 24 hours, it came back where there were no zones around the disc, and this indicated that that it was resistant to the drug. At that moment, I was hoping that it was actually sensitive. I'm not sure if I should have added the 2 units instead of the 0.4 units. But that's how that test went. And by then I had narrowed it down to either streptococci pyrogens or the streptococci agalliaceae. And I didn't get a chance to identify my organism because I let it go past my dates. So that is what I did for the unknown. I think I would have gotten it right if I wouldn't have messed up toward the end. I definitely have to work on those words. I mean, the organisms are definitely hard to pronounce. But I am going to work on those, and I enjoy doing this project, and thank you all for watching. Thanks.